Picture this. It's 2026 and the United States stretches beyond its familiar borders, its flag waving over the icy shores of Greenland. How did we get here? It all began with one man's wild idea. Donald Trump, the 45th President of the United States. In August 2019, Trump floated the notion that the U.S. should purchase Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark. He called it strategically interesting and a large real estate deal. Greenland is not for sale, Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen shot back, dismissing it as absurd. Fast forward to 2025, Donald Trump has just been sworn in as president again, and this time, he's not joking about Greenland. With a renewed mandate and a legacy to secure, he turns his gaze northward, determined to make the United States bigger, literally. Greenland, with its vast resources and strategic perch in the Arctic, becomes his ultimate prize. Imagine a world where the map of North America looks different because one man dared to redraw it. What would it mean for a nation to claim new territory in the 21st century? What if a single decision could reshape the geopolitical landscape forever? The possibilities are as thrilling as they are unthinkable. New alliances, new conflicts, a new America. But how could this happen? How does a wild idea from 2019 turn into reality just 6 years later? Stick around, because the answer might surprise you. Part 1. The setup, real history, and the spark of an idea. What makes Greenland so valuable that a president would risk ridicule to claim it? It's not just a barren ice sheet. Greenland sits like a chess piece between North America and Europe, a gateway to the Arctic where melting ice unlocks new shipping lanes and resources. Beneath its frozen surface lie untapped treasures, oil, gas, and rare minerals that power everything from iPhones to fighter jets. Strategically, it's a military goldmine, a perch to watch Russia's Arctic moves or plant a U.S. flag in a warming, contested region. To Trump, it wasn't just a deal, it was a power play. Now let's jump to 2025. He's older, sharper, and more determined than ever to leave a legacy that echoes through history. The Greenland idea? It's no longer a quirky aside. This time, he's not just talking, he's ready to act. The world braces itself, caught between skepticism and a nagging sense that he might just mean it. One tweet sparked a fire. Now it's about to blaze into something unstoppable. In 2019, the world laughed. But in 2025, they'd stop laughing. Could one man's ambition change the map? A tiny island versus a superpower? What could possibly tip the scales? The pieces are falling into place and the tension is palpable. But what would it take to turn this wild dream into reality? Could Trump really pull it off? Part 2. The annexation, how it could have happened. Behind closed doors, a deal was struck that shocked the planet. It began with Donald Trump's audacious gambit in early 2025. He sent his sharpest negotiators to Copenhagen, armed with an offer Denmark couldn't easily dismiss. Picture this. Billions in economic aid to bolster Denmark's coffers, NATO defense perks that would make even allies jealous, and a trade deal so lucrative it promised to rewrite Denmark's future. It was a velvet-gloved power grab, a bold declaration that Greenland was America's to claim, and Trump was willing to bet big to make it happen. Could money and power really buy a country, or was something darker at play? The negotiations were a high-wire act cloaked in secrecy. The talks were tense. One wrong word, and it all could have collapsed. Denmark's leaders bristled at the sheer nerve of it, their national pride clashing with the glittering bait dangled before them. Arctic security guarantees, infrastructure investments, and a cut of Greenland's untapped resources. A small nation's pride versus a superpower's hunger. Who would blink first? In the USA, the news split the nation like a fault line. Supporters roared with pride, hailing it as a new era of American greatness, jobs, minerals, and a foothold in the Arctic. Critics raged, decrying it as reckless imperialism, a dangerous overreach that mocked international norms. Across the Atlantic, Greenlanders wrestled with their own dilemma. Some saw dollar signs and opportunity, U.S. citizenship, better schools, a stronger economy. Others saw an existential threat, a cultural erasure. "We're not for sale," one local leader shouted at a rally, voice trembling with defiance. The global stage crackled with tension. Russia, already staking claims in the Arctic, watched with narrowing eyes its military presence creeping closer to Greenland's icy shores. Canada, feeling the U.S. breath on its northern neck, lodged fierce protests, calling it a betrayal of neighborly trust. The EU scrambled, torn between condemning Trump and fearing his retaliatory trade moves. This wasn't just a land deal, it was a tectonic shift in power. Then came the legal firestorm. Could a president annex territory solo? Congress balked, lawmakers screaming about checks and balances. Unfazed, Trump slammed an executive order on the table, labeling Greenland critical to national defense. Cue chaos. Lawsuits piled up, and a constitutional crisis loomed. "I've got the power," he bellowed at a rally, daring anyone to prove him wrong. But the real jolt came unexpectedly. A Danish political scandal erupted, top officials caught in a web of corruption, leaving Copenhagen reeling. The deal was shaky, but then the unthinkable happened. With Denmark's resistance crumbling under domestic pressure, Trump pounced, sealing the deal. On December 15, 2025, the ink dried. Greenland became America's 51st state. Flags changed, headlines screamed, and the world held its breath. But what happens when you graft an icy frontier onto a nation? The fallout was anyone's guess, and the drama was far from over. Part 3, The Aftermath, Consequences and Alternative History. Greenland's icy heart held secrets that would redefine a nation. In 2025, when the Stars and Stripes rose over Nuuk, the island's quiet isolation shattered. Greenlanders blinked awake as U.S. citizens, their lives suddenly tethered to a superpower. Military bases sprang up across the frozen expanse, steel fortresses humming with purpose. Corporations raced in, salivating over oil, gas, and rare earth minerals locked beneath the ice. The world held its breath as America staked its claim on this Arctic prize. The immediate fallout was dizzying. What happens when you trade tradition for progress? Jobs flooded in, an economic boom that built roads, schools, and dreams of wealth. But as strip mines clawed into sacred land and factories drowned out the wind, Greenlanders mourned. Their heritage, tied to the ice, the hunt, the silence, slipped away. "This isn't home anymore," one local said, gazing at a skyline now pierced by cranes. A land of silence became a stage for chaos, prosperity clashing with a culture unmoored. Politically, the annexation rewrote the rules. Greenland's 2 new congressional seats shifted the balance in Washington, amplifying Arctic voices in U.S. policy. America's grip on the region tightened, its bases glaring across the ice at Russia and Canada. Moscow ramped up its own Arctic presence, while Ottawa cried foul, caught in the superpower squeeze. Could this spark peace or a new Cold War? The annexation didn't just redraw maps, it rattled alliances, leaving the world on edge. The long-term stakes grew even steeper. Resource wars loomed as nations coveted Greenland's riches. Climate debates flared. Industrial sprawl sped up the ice melt, drowning coastlines and fueling global panic. And beyond the Arctic, whispers spread. If Greenland could fall, who's next? Iceland? Parts of Scandinavia? In our world, Trump's Greenland idea was a footnote. Here it's a new chapter, one that could rewrite borders and spark a domino effect of ambition. Greenland's annexation reshapes everything, but for better or worse. It's a story of power gained and identity lost, of environmental gambles and geopolitical chess. Reflecting on this alternate history, we're left wondering, would this bold move save America or doom it? You tell us, drop your thoughts below. History's yours to rewrite.